Oh, the mic turned off while I was powering up. Hold on. All right. Is that better now? Hopefully. So I'll just reiterate. I've been going 100 miles an hour while um, trying to get the house ready because I have to go back to Ohio in about 8 days, 7 days. Okay. Yeah, there we go. And so I've been doing all of this stuff trying to get the house ready so I can be gone for a few days while I go get the Viper and one of the trucks, and I'm going to be doing a couple of trips back and forth. So I've got to make sure that the house is 100% and I can leave it for a couple of days while I go grab that stuff. So that's why I haven't been on YouTube as much, is because I'm doing all that stuff, all the stuff here with the house. The house was pretty neglected prior to me getting here. So I'm trying to keep up with you guys. I'm trying to get the stuff done on the Miata. Like I said, I'm going to be doing headlight adjustment. I'll show you guys how to do that because I have new LED bulbs in there that are they're absolutely fantastic. And there's a great tutorial from Flying Miata on how to adjust headlights both up and down and in and out, especially on an NA. And then they have stuff for NBs as well regarding height, and they're set left and right, so you can't really adjust them on the NBs. And same with NCs. But I wanted to add to that. Their video was awesome, but I want to add to that because they did halogen bulbs in the NA, and these are LED 7-inch LEDs. So I didn't do the Harley headlight. I did a different design and something I really like. But I also noticed that when I was driving the other night, the headlights are actually very vertical. They're not really pointing down at the road, especially on the low beams. The high beams kind of go off into space, but definitely want to see more road. It gets really dark at night here. There's not a lot of street lights and stuff. So I want to make sure that I can see stuff. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about hitting a deer, which is a good thing. But I definitely need to get that adjusted. So I'll show you guys that one. That one will be coming up. And then the new stereo in the Miata. The new stereos are very simple. They're only like an inch thick. It's all Bluetooth and it's really close. I think this one has something very similar to Apple CarPlay, but the wiring harnesses need to match up, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Take the console apart, take the tombstone. It's called the tombstone, that center console. It looks like a tombstone. That comes out, and then you can get to the heater controls, the heater vents, and little cubby hole, and the radio itself. So I'll show you guys how to do all that stuff. But also, like I said, I have the hardtop here, and I did the final primer coat on it, which it hasn't been sanded down yet. But as I was doing the final primer, I'm going around the rest of the car, or the rest of the hardtop, and I found some other stuff. And so I was going to show you guys that. It has not been corrected. The top portion and that edge is in great shape, but this new stuff is going to take some sanding and shaping and all of that, which is kind of a pain. But this thing will be really nice and very gloss black when it's all done. That's the good part. So I wish I had a rolly stool so I could roll with you guys, but I don't. I just have this, you can't really see it, box of cat litter. That's what I'm sitting on. So I'll just take you guys around, and you can see the hardtop here. So we have our last coat of primer, and it's been drying the last day and a half. This obviously needs sanded. You can hear it just with my hand. And from where it fell, I'll go over to the other side too. I'll pull you guys over here so you can see. Where it fell, it chipped this edge really badly. There were a bunch of chips right here, and there was also a ding right here, and there was a ding down here in the bottom corner. So all of that stuff got cleared up. And this also got primered as well. Again, this will go gloss black, and this is all taped off now, so we can get paint on there. Once everything gets sanded, you can see it's still on my hands. I'll bring you guys. We'll go long way. Well, I don't know. I think I can really do this side. We'll see how it goes. I have the back window all covered up, and you can see here we have these are the mounts for the rear. The Frankenstein bolts go in right here on the car, and that's what connects it in the back. There's a little rubber pad here, and the glue and adhesive on it doesn't stay very well. And then there's little nubs that stick through, and those get broken off all the time. So this is just going to have to get glued on. These guys got primered because they had a bunch of scratches on them, and they're going to get brand new paint, which is going to match all of this. So that's the good part. I'll show you guys this one. And this is what I found on this guy. Let's see if I can get you a little lower here. This guy has a bunch of putty and filler in here because he had chips here from where he fell. And I don't know what happened here, but there was a huge bubble right here, just like the one that was on top of the car. And when I came to Florida and got in the heat, that bubble got a lot bigger. So the bubble got popped. All the paint came out. You can see a bunch of, there's some paint chips still on the ground here from where that popped out. So all of this stuff is getting cleaned up and reshaped. I can tell right now that glazing putty set in there pretty deep, and I'm going to have to do another pass tonight. There's still some gap there. The difficulty with this is there's a bump right here in this little section. There's a bump where this mount goes into the top is two pieces of fiberglass sandwiched together, and this mount is in between those. And so there's a little bump out right here, and that makes it really difficult to sand. You can't use any kind of like tool or anything. You kind of have to do it by hand. And so this all has to get done by hand and then reprimered. And like I said, these guys are getting primered because they get chunked up all the time. And there's chrome covers that go on these, but the covers are off, obviously. All this stuff can get painted because it goes inside. And then you can adjust the weather stripping. That's what these two bolts are for. You can adjust the Frankenstein bolts to where this sits perfectly and clamps down nice and tight. So that's what this is for. But yeah, right now I'm going to grab my cat litter bucket and I'm going to add some putty in here to fill this in. It's been drying all day, so this is pretty dry. Also, this is just protective. The glass is very expensive on these, so I don't want to have to clean it up or whatever. Oh, and by the way, yeah, we're brought to you by Rockstar. All day, man. All day. So where's my glazing putty? And I'll need some type of applicator. Not my hand. I'll probably use the hard edge on this. So I'll grab my cat litter. I really do need a rolly stool. This is a good workout, but I would definitely prefer my rolly stool. And this is all just the stuff I'm using. It's just Pro glazing putty. It comes in a tube. It's for small chips and little cracks and stuff like that. But it's really good. It dries really hard. So not quite fiberglass, not quite gel coat. Of course, he's not going to sit there. He's going to fall right on the ground. So we'll just put him down there. So you probably can't see him. Maybe you can. In here, you can tell that it's deeper than the rest. So I'm going to add some in here, and then I'm going to use the scraper to try and spread it all over. That should be enough, hopefully. Let me clean off the top here. The stuff dries pretty quick, but it washes up pretty easy too before it gets dry. Don't get it in your clothes. With these scrapers, these are just cheapo and they're very flexible, especially on the ends here. So if you need something firmer, use the other side. It's a little stiffer. So you can do your first pass kind of like this, and then if you need to clean up, you can use the other side. The other side works great too for pressing that stuff in there. This is a very tight fit. So that's a little bit better, I think. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And we need to remember that all this putty that we're putting in here, about 90% of it we're going to sand out. It's all going to go away. So you try and make it look as nice as you can. Also, this stuff dries pretty darn quick. So if you're going to spread it around, definitely get on it because it'll harden pretty quick. It'll get really tacky. So that's about it. We need to let this sit at least 24 hours for it to dry. Then it's super sandable and we can sand all of this stuff away. This guy, I got sanded some of him, but I'm trying to be really careful because this bump, I don't want to go too far on one edge or the other. When you get close to an edge, it's very easy to sand through. So you have to be very careful with this edge here. You have to be very careful with any kind of sharp edge. And then you get into a small space like this, it's very easy to just sand right through that. So for sanding stuff, I'll put this stuff away because we're done with it for now. For sanding, we have a whole bunch of different stuff. I'll bring this over so you guys can see it. For sanding, it's kind of a step-by-step thing. Start off with 120 grit. This just tacks onto a sanding block. And you can do this by hand. The other nice part is these guys are reusable. They peel right off. And so you can do it as kind of sort of like sandpaper, and then you can wash it and just run water through it and it cleans right up. So these guys they're really nice. They last a long time. And they attach to a foam sanding block, which is really cool. And then from there we go to 3M 400. And this gets us close to our primer. And that's what we use for getting ready for primer. And again, you don't have to press very hard. Like most tools, let the tool do the work. If you have to press really hard on it, you probably added too much putty, or you're going to burn through something and you're going to have to go back and redo it. So take your time and let the tool do the job. And that goes for pretty much everything, whether you're sanding or building an engine block or whatever. I'm gonna bring you guys back. I'm gonna tilt this up a little. There we go. Now we can still see everything and you can still see me. Sort of. Even though I didn't tilt it up far enough. And I have putty all over the place. Okay. And also I should crouch down. I shouldn't crouch down. So that's the basic practice for sanding. Let the tool do the job. After that, we go to double aught steel wool. Steel wool is great for getting the finish ready for primer and ready for paint to grip into it. It's pretty smooth. It's about double aught is about 400, maybe 350, somewhere in there. But steel wool is a little bit different too. Your pressure is spread out wider, so it's harder to burn through paint. That's why steel wool is really nice. Um, from the double aught, we'll clean it all up, and then we'll go to the 4-aught, which is close to, this is about maybe 1,000 grit, something like that. And this will be, again, to get everything very smooth without putting divots or, bumps or anything in it. And then we're going to wet sand with 2,000. And wet sand is very simple. You put the sandpaper in water and you spray the piece with water and you keep it wet. And that helps you get a very, very, very fine finish on it. Sandpaper goes up to, I think I've seen 10,000 or 15,000 grit sandpaper. Now you got to remember your fingers are about 2,000 grit, 3,000 grit. So if you just feel your fingertips, depending on, if you have manicured hands or not, but you're about 3,000 grit. So if I just rub this, it would be about 3,000 grit. So finally, paint will go on in between these layers. So after the 4-aught, or after the double aught, we do the primer, and then we will go back and we'll sand with this and look for low spots in the primer, make sure everything gets primer covered. So we'll just keep sanding with that. Then we can also use the 400 at that stage too. That's actually a pretty good stage to do that at. Our 400. Usually we should do this in a sanding block if you're going to get to that level, because you definitely don't want low spots. I do have a sanding block here, just with the small stuff. I haven't used it with any of that. So next up, we'll do our first coat of black, and it's just a straight gloss black. There's nothing very special about it. It is probably not going to match this black, but we're going to do our very best to blend in. So then after that black, we do the 4-aught, and that's just the term, 4 zeros. Everyone, zero, the nickname for zero is aught, O-U-G-H-T. So you say 2-aught or 4-aught. If you're talking about cables, sometimes cables would be 0-aught or double-aught. This is 4-aught steel wool. And we do a couple of coats of paint. It'll be actually pretty damn thin, but you want to get that as smooth as possible and still have a little bit of primer showing, a little bit of paint showing, mostly paint, and then keep doing those layers, and you sand in between the layers. Then you'll do another full coat of black, and then you'll wet sand to 2,000, and the 2,000 will get you super, super smooth. And then you can dry it off, make sure it's super, super dry. Use a tack cloth or alcohol and a microfiber. Get it super, super clean and super dry. Add another coat of paint. Then you can wet sand with 2,000 again. You want to get to the point where when you're sanding, the black is actually getting glossier. It's not getting dull. So that's the trick with wet sanding. When it flips from getting dull to getting glossier, that's when your wet sanding is going great. You can add coats as many as you want. You can add 20 coats. You can add 50. Doesn't matter. Just make sure you sand in between coats. That helps not only the gloss increase, but also the paint adhere to the old paint. The last thing we'll do is, and just because this is super cheap, there's 50 other steps you can do, but this is cheap and easy. This is like 30 bucks, and this is going to last me years. Oh, there's a weird number on the bottom. This is just McGuire's Mirror Glaze, and this goes on a polisher, just a dual action, polisher with a buffing wheel. And we do that, and we'll do coats of that until we get matching gloss. all the way around. So the old paint will match the new paint. The old paint here will match the new paint, and we'll get it super glossy and white, or and white, super glossy and black. And if necessary, we can clean all that stuff off with alcohol, and we can go back and add another coat of paint and wet sand. So we just do a little bit of this at first. We'll try, one of the small spots like down here in the corner, make sure we have enough paint on, make sure we have enough sanding. But you can clean this stuff off. It's not nanotechnology or anything that you have to wait 5 years to sand it or whatever. You can do that. But this is usually the last step, and that'll give you sort of the finished product. Now, we can also do clear coat on this. Now, I don't have a clear because this is going to get repainted anyway. So I'm doing a lot of coats of black versus a couple of coats of black and a couple of coats of clear. So I'm just doing a lot of black, and then I'm going to mirror it up as best I can. It's one of those things you keep adding and then you clean it and keep adding polish and clean it. It takes a little bit of time, especially when you're doing little tiny small stuff like this. This stuff takes way more time than doing a nice big area, because you can cover that, and it's a lot easier to see any imperfections and stuff. Down here, it's a lot more tricky. You have to get more intricate and go over bumps and avoid edges and stuff like that. So this is it's a good practice thing. It's good to know how to do this stuff, and it's also a patience tester. That's why it's so bad for me with my OCD, because I could spend a week just on this little section right here, getting it absolutely perfect before I paint anything. So that's why it gets kind of dangerous. And some stuff you do have to let go. Other stuff you have to take care of it. Like this bubble, if I didn't take care of this, then the paint starts peeling the rest of the way down. So, or the rest of the way around the corner, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And we saw that with the roof when the original painter did it. Something happened there, that the primer didn't stick or something didn't stick, and it left that big burger sized thing that down here in the sun, it just bubbled up and out. So got to take care of that stuff. And then we'll go to a pro painter. He'll have a really nice base to work with. He'll just have to do some very basic sanding to get his new paint to adhere. He'll take out the glass, and he'll probably mask this up, and he'll mask off the inside and stuff. It's a different process when you go to a pro shop. This is just really temporary stuff. It'll still look good and it'll last me, and I won't be embarrassed to take it out. But down here, I'm not going to be using the hardtop very much. That's why it's in this bay, normally where the motorcycles are, because I don't really need the hardtop down here. So that's why we're doing it here. We'll get it done. We'll get it looking really nice. I got to fix the rubber pad on this guy is okay. The glue and adhesive is still sticking. On that guy, though, I got to get some new adhesive and get him stuck back on there. So yeah, that's it. It's definitely a process to paint this stuff, and it definitely takes a little while, especially when you have to wait for stuff to dry. You have to wait for primer to dry. That's why painters will have like 3 or 4 projects going at the same time, because that one is dry on Tuesday, that one's dry on Wednesday, that one's dry on Friday. That's why those guys have, a bunch of different projects, and you'll see them working on different cars at different times. It's not always the same vehicle all at the same time, because they have, times that have to go in between all this stuff. And again, we're using rattle can paint, rattle can primer. There's nothing special about any of this stuff. This whole repair project is probably $100, maybe $120. But it's a ton of time. And when you have OCD like me, it's a lot of time. It takes up a lot of time. But once we get this stuff dried, we can start spraying stuff. That primer, we'll probably do another coat of primer. That's our first main primer. So when I sand that smooth, as long as everything is just primer, we'll probably just do one more coat, super thin, and call that done with primer. This, the same thing. He'll get primered, and we'll see how much more primer we need, et cetera, and sand and prime accordingly. And then we'll start painting, and we'll start doing the covers. Like this guy, this corner down here, he's ready. He's ready for paint. He needs some just some sanding on that primer real quick. He's ready for paint. This up here, I don't know yet because I haven't sanded that section of primer. This obviously, we kind of have three stages here: beginning, middle, end. So we'll get it. We'll get it. And thankfully, we don't need this hardtop. You know, we're not going to SEMA with it. We're not, you know, it's not snowing this weekend, and I got to have it out so the Miata can go out. No, it's nice to have projects like this that you don't have to do it. Plus, I have a million other things I have to do in the house. I don't even have the TV off the floor, and so I mean, just on the little leg stands and just watching it on the floor. So I do have a ton of other stuff to do, and I've got to do that trip to Ohio to get the Viper down here, to get the one of the trucks down here. So lots of stuff coming up. But the good news is, while I'm in Ohio, we will be in the regular shop, and there will be ton, a ton of live videos for you guys. The limo and the MR6 are the two priorities while I'm up there. So I will be absolutely 100% focused on those. And we'll be doing multiple lives during the day. Some will be MR6, some will be limo. We'll be moving the cars in and out depending on parts and people, etc. But those two, I want to say they must get done while I'm up there, but they need to be 98% while I'm up there. And so I have the time now, and I'm under not under the gun, but I'm definitely under. I'm definitely on the clock for getting both of those done. We have a race coming up with the MR6, and I got to get the limo down here. After driving around the last couple of weeks, that car would just be so much fun down here. It's got to happen. So that's going to happen soon too. And yeah, and I don't know why I'm doing this so late with you guys. I got to get up in 5.5 hours, 5 hours, and going to Cars and Coffee in Sarasota. This is my first Cars and Coffee, and I talked with a group of my friends up in Tampa, and they've all bailed. So it'll just be me. I'll get you guys a bunch of pictures. I'll put them up on Facebook and Instagram. You guys can check those out. But apparently, the one in Sarasota is really nice. They're pretty militant with their time. You know, 8 to 10 or 8 to 11, and they say that like at 11 everyone's gone, like it's an empty lot. So a little different than what I'm used to, but we'll see how it goes. There's a couple of Cars and Coffees. There's at least one in Port Charlotte, and I know there's one in Punta Gorda. So we'll try and catch those two on different weekends. There's also in Fort Myers, and then there's obviously the Mercado event in Naples. We'll definitely go down to that. I'd like to have the Viper here to go to Mercado. I kind of, nothing against the Miata, but I don't want to take it when there's Ferraris and Lambos and all that stuff. That's a little hard. I don't mind, but I definitely rather take the Viper. So we get that car down here. So get ready for a ton more stuff. I know it's weird being in this shop versus my regular shop, and it's weird for me. I have $500,000 worth of tools in my shop, and down here I had to go buy a pair of pliers. So I mean it's definitely different, but I'm managing, and thankfully I have what the hell can I use as a straight edge? I got 4 straight edges that all different. I got probably 10 different straight edges at my shop, but down here I don't have a ruler, so I got to use a broom handle or one of the things for the TV mounts, one of the arms. I got to you just you adapt and overcome, and it's working. It's working pretty well. And I don't know what's going on with my hair. I don't know what happened here. Everything was fun until I came outside. So thanks you guys for hanging out tonight, and and checking in on me and making sure that I'm still staying on top of this. You guys are also great motivators for me. I could very easily just go crash out. You know, uh, I got internet now, so Amazon Prime's waiting for me. But you guys keep pressing me, and I love getting messages from you guys that hey, thanks for showing me this, thanks for showing me that. That makes me feel good, and that definitely motivates me to keep going on this, and that you guys are interested in what I'm doing. So I love that. Uh, Again, I'll state it again because I don't know if everyone heard it. This is not a pro paint job. This is a completely temporary paint job. This is to protect the fiberglass from the Florida sun until I can get it to a body shop that I like and a body shop that I trust. I don't know any body shops down here. So I have to go, scout guys out. But this will be a good test because it's pretty easy to fix if something gets jacked up. So this is not a pro paint job. This is not something Dave Kindig would not approve. Um, but I'm doing what I can with what I've got, just as a temporary, decent looking piece that's protected from the Florida sun. So that's what we're doing here. And you know, not everybody has a $2,000 budget to paint their hardtop. So if you're doing this all on a budget, like I said, this is for probably $200, you could paint the whole thing. So, take that however you want, use it however you want. I'm just trying to help you guys get as much done as possible, so that your car's awesome or your truck's awesome or whatever, your boat or jet ski or lawnmower, whatever it is. Um, but yeah, that's the plan. That's the basics for this. And you can adjust some of the stuff. Just don't go backwards. Don't sand with 2000 and then go back to 400 unless absolutely necessary. Like, oh, I gotta, you know, reglaze this or whatever. Don't go backwards. Don't drop numbers unless you absolutely have to for some kind of error. But definitely just keep going up. And once you get past 1,000 grit, you want to start wet sanding. So you want to start making sure there's water or alcohol or whatever. Usually it's just straight distilled water and sand with that. Once you get after 1,000, that's kind of the best way to do it to get the best finish and the best look. So uh, that's about it for tonight. Hopefully you guys like that. And again, I apologize for not doing 500 horsepower cars that do huge burnouts, but this is all the other stuff that comes with owning a car and finding surprises like that, like the bubble back here. How bad the bubble had gotten on the top. It was just a little ripple when I left Ohio, but I'm here for a week and boom, it just blows up. So um, you find all this stuff out, and then you got to figure out how to take care of it. So hopefully you guys are. Hopefully, you don't have to. I don't have to say hopefully. I know you guys are enjoying it because I get the notes, I get the messages, and I see the views, and everyone seems to like this. So I'm going to keep going. Uh, Again, I don't get paid a dime for this. I don't get paid a dime from YouTube. I don't have any sponsors. Even Rockstar hasn't sponsored me yet, and all I do is talk about how awesome, how much I love Rockstar. So we'll keep going. I love it, and I'm glad you guys like it too. So thanks again for hanging out tonight. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys later this weekend. We'll do some more sanding on this, and like I said, we've got the radio in the Miata. We've got the headlight adjustment for the LED headlights. We'll do more Miata stuff. Don't really have any motorcycle stuff. And if I can get another car in here, I'll definitely do that. But for now, we've got Miata stuff and mosquitoes and flying things. Um, so thanks for hanging out, and definitely tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. All of that. And when I go back to Ohio, we'll be back in the normal shop, and we'll be going like gangbusters in Ohio. We'll have a bunch of people over. We'll have the Miata, or we'll have the limo and the MR6, and we'll be cranking on those day and night. So those will be the two big priorities when we get back. So hopefully you join us for that. Um, all right, cool. Don't forget to show someone that you love them today. Give them a kiss on the cheek, give them a kiss on the tip of their nose, hold their hand, give it a squeeze. It's important for them, but it's far more important for you. Thanks, everyone. I'll catch you on the next live. Let's see if we can do one tomorrow. We'll get some sanding done on this and maybe go through some of the steps. Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Cool.